Welcome to Expats Everywhere. Can you tell me your name, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Elizabeth. I'm originally from Minnesota in the States, and I came here in Canada, Vancouver, to do my undergrad in biology. And since then, I developed a passion for marine biology, and I'm working on starting my life here, probably doing some research and just enjoying Vancouver.
Okay, what's it like working in Vancouver?
It's similar to in the States. I moved here when I was 18, so I had like 4 years of experience working in the States to compare it to. But at the same time, I was young, so I opted into nannying back home. So it is quite different comparing the two. I'd say it's pretty similar to the States. I have more experience just with the service industry and also with research. The service industry, I'd say, is almost on par. It's similar tipping, similar hours, similar expectations as far as that goes. And then research, as far as I'm aware, there's more funding for research here, especially in the field of marine biology. So I've just, from talking with other people, I found that there's just been more available resources and everything working here.
Okay, so you've been a server and you've done research. Is there anything else that you've done for work?
Back home, so when I was still in high school, I was a cashier and nannying, and then I did a little bit of nannying here in Canada as well. It's kind of hard to like meet the right people because back home I was just nannying my neighbor kids, but there's services and stuff out there for nannies out there. Other than that, I did a little bit of cashier for like a year here. My first year of university, I just wanted to focus on studying, and also at the time I wasn't allowed to work with my study permit. But by second year, they changed the requirements, so I was able to work like 20 hours a week while I was a student.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that. So you came in on a student visa,
Yes.
and so initially you weren't allowed to work, but now it's changed and you can work on a student visa.
Yeah. So when I originally applied, it says like cannot work. It's just a student visa. And then in 2014, they changed the requirements, and so I had to like mail in my old study permit, like surrender it, and they sent me a new one. So then it says on it, can work 20 hours a week if you're employed as a full time student.
Okay, so someone who's looking to go there for studies can also work a little as well.
Yeah, it's actually really nice. So if you're a full time student during the fall and spring sessions and you take the summer off, you're actually allowed to work full time as long as you prove that you're still enrolled, like for the previous and for the next year. You can work full time during that summer course.
And is that what you do?
Yeah, so that's what I did as an undergrad. That's kind of the hours I did. I worked like 5 out of the 7 days a week in the summer. It wasn't quite as regular. It wasn't 9 to 5. I was just serving, so it was, hit or miss. But now that I'm starting my master's, it's a little bit different. The program is research based, but you have to do some teaching, some school, and then your own thesis. So the research itself is like a full time job. I just have to find time for it. And then other than that, I'm working, serving like 3 to 4 shifts a week. So it's a little bit more than full time, but since I'm employed as a student, it doesn't interfere with the study permit at all.
Okay. So
Yeah.
in your experience, what other jobs are available for expats?
That I was trying to think if there's any like limitations. I think that there's positions any like in any field here in Canada. I mean, if you're looking just for like a summer job, definitely there's like a million restaurants that need help, especially in the kitchen rather than just serving. But like you're more than likely to find a serving job. But as far as like other jobs go, I'm trying to think of my friends who have applied. I've had a couple friends who I just recently met who finished like they're overqualified. They have like master's degrees in different countries, but it doesn't transfer over. So if you're thinking about moving here as an expat, I just make sure that like your degree, like where you did your degree and how long and what you majored in or whatever it is, just make sure that it lines up because I know that like my 3 friends that I recently just met, they're all in my field and they can't get a job in marine biology anywhere here, even though they have their masters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it happens in like, in the business world and in the
Mm.
medical world. Like I'm sure that actually I did meet a friend a couple years ago from the States who got his nursing degree. I'm not sure where it was from, but he did his full nursing degree and he can't get a job here either.
Oh,
It's like
wow.
on paper he had zero qualifications. So I think it's not as clear cut as you think. Like especially coming from the States, I would expect everything to be, crystal clear, just one on one. But even he couldn't get one. So I just be really careful before you move here that like your degree is or where you received your degree is accepted here.
Okay.
There's more than enough jobs. It's just whether or not like you're actually qualified on paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Yeah.
So, so let's go back to serving. You're a student and then you're also a server.
Yeah.
So can you just give us an idea of how much a server can expect to earn?
So it's night. I didn't serve back home, but my sister does, and apparently they make way less than minimum wage on paper, and then they rely on their tips. It's nice here because you make like a server's minimum wage, which is less than the average minimum wage, but it's more than like $2 an hour.
Hmm.
I think minimum wage is about 12 something here, and a server can expect to make like $10 to $11 an hour. And then I think you could average like an average tip percentage is like 15 to 20 here. So it depends on the night. You could walk away with just $50, or you could walk away with a couple hundred, depending on like bill prices. Let's say you worked like an 8-hour shift at a nice, busy pub on a Friday night. You could probably walk away with $200, and then you tip out your kitchen. So it's an easy 150. Again, minimum wage here isn't enough to live by, which is kind of just the miscommunication when people think whether, oh, like Canadian servers, they make way more than American servers. I don't need to tip them as much. But especially in Vancouver, like anyone making minimum wage is not living. They have to have multiple jobs. So you still really are relying on those tips. Yep.
Okay. So could someone be a student and a server as well and live off of that money, or that would not be enough to live?
um, it depends. So I'm just gonna say if you're going to UBC, just because I'm more familiar with it. If you are a Canadian citizen, you pay like substantially less for your degree. So if a Canadian citizen pays $5,000 a semester, I was paying $15,000 a semester. So as an expat, I'd say there's no way I could afford it. I'd either have to do part-time studies, full-time work, or take out loans, or however it may be. It's definitely enough to, if you're working full-time as a server, to live. But if you're incorporating studies with that, it's really tough.
So then why did you choose Vancouver to study?
It was very coincidental. So I went to an advisor for like my college essays, and I was really interested in the Boston schools and also just the East Coast of the states. I knew I wanted to do biology from my high school teachers. They just really expressed their passion for biology, and it just was very contagious. Never really had experience with marine life or anything, so I wasn't necessarily interested in that. I just knew that I like the feel of the East Coast. And anyway, so I started applying there, and then I went to go see this advisor, and she helped pick out different schools that I wouldn't have found online per se. And then she's like, oh, there's also this really great school called UBC. It's the opposite coast. I really recommend giving it a try. The application is more expensive, but it's worth it. So just like do some research, see if it's for you. And I was just like full application mode, wasn't thinking, and I just applied. I'm like, why is this so expensive? And I didn't even look to see that it was in Canadian dollars or anything. I was just like, my mind was just like tunnel vision, just trying to put applications out there. And then I got in, and then I realized it was in Canada, and I was like, okay, Mom, is this like okay? I didn't even realize. She's like, oh, I was curious. I was wondering why everything was like a little bit messed up. So we went to go visit it because we saw that it was quite expensive when we were looking at like how much I'd have to pay each semester and everything. And we went to go visit, and it was during the rainy season in Vancouver, and I still fell in love. There's people ask me like how does it feel to live in Canada versus the States, and I don't have a clear cut answer. I felt more at home, which is really weird because I'd lived in Minnesota my whole life. Anyway, I just fell in love, even though it was rainy, and I don't even like rain. I like the snow. And anyway, I came back, and I was just like, I want to go here, I want to go here. And so we were doing more comparisons, especially with the exchange rate. And it came down to the fact that unless I went to Minnesota, I'd be paying the same amount because I didn't receive too much financial aid in the States anyway. So I'd be paying about the same amount to go to, another school outside of Minnesota that I wasn't really interested in going to. I would do just fine, but I wasn't excited about. Or I could go here and it's international, it's a different experience, and I seem to really like it. Yeah, so it was completely coincidental that I went to this one advisor who recommended this school to me, but it changed my life.
All right, very cool.
Yeah.
So, for those that are looking to study and work in Vancouver, for
Mhm.
what you do, can you save any money or are you pretty much spending everything on your rent and things like that?
So average rent is like for a mediocre place nowadays, it's like a grand a month. Like for even if it's unless like you find a house and you're able to split it up with people, even the basement suites around kids are going for $1,000 a room.
Wow.
So that takes a huge chunk out. And then if you're going to school, you're paying tuition. Um, food, I mean, food's expensive here, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily more expensive than any of the other bigger cities like around or in the States. So it's not really the food that gets it, it's mainly the cost of living. And as a student, I would say that you're spending every single cent that you make,
Okay.
especially if you want to like have a peace of mind and like enjoy yourself one day a week or so. Like maybe that little bit you saved up is going towards that one day. If you're just working, you can definitely save up. You'll find the cheaper bars. You'll find how to save money on groceries, like little like Asian markets. Those you could save like $5 to $10 each time you go to the store. And especially in the summer, like you could spend zero money going outside all day enjoying your day with our Vancouver summers, but in the winter you're spending that money. So if you're looking to go to school here and work a little bit, I'd say you wouldn't be saving any money unless you're getting help.
Let's change gears a little bit. And if someone is planning to move to Vancouver, how much money should they bring with them just to start up?
Um, I know it's tricky because there's enough, like you need enough money where you're going to be comfortable. I had to have enough money in the bank for like my study permit for a full year's tuition and X more. Like I just had to basically prove that when I arrive in Canada, I have enough money to live for a full year, which is quite a lot.
Yeah,
To
that
just have
is.
in the bank. So it was just like my mom transferred me money over and then took it back once I got the deal. So if you're permit wise, like if you're relying on coming with a permit, you're gonna need a lot of money saved up. If not, somebody who can transfer you and transfer it back.
Like
It's not,
30,000? Like that much or
mine
more?
was I had to have like 35, 40,000.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And again, it's just like if you can just transfer it back and then you can make it the second you get a job. Like don't rely on needing that much to enter the country to live. It's just to get the permit. And then if you just kind of budget it out, so for each month you could roughly pay a grand for rent. So you have a grand there, $200 to $300 on groceries. Depends how much you like to eat or if you like to eat fancy, but you could get by with a couple hundred a month. And then if you like going out, you could easily spend like $100 a night.
Wow.
But you could save money in free drink and then just spend like 50. So depends on your lifestyle, but count on it if you really want to like have a night out, you're gonna spend $100, whether it be cabs and alcohol or cover. To live comfortably, I'd probably save up for like probably spending like 2 grand a month. So if you weren't sure if you're gonna get a job right away, I'd probably have 6 months rent saved up.
Okay.
Or 6 months of that budget saved up. So like 12,000 or so. Yeah.
So then how should someone pack and what's the weather like?
That's where it gets interesting. So typically, like end of October to March, rainy season. So it doesn't dip much below freezing, which is 32 or 0 degrees, depending on where you're from. All you're gonna need to do is invest in like good rain shoes and a good rain jacket. Whether you want to bring more or not, like you need those. If you're outdoorsy, bring a pair of waterproof pants. and that will be your rain gear. People usually just get cheap umbrellas here because you end up losing them, but they break anyway. Those are essential. You can't come to Vancouver without those. Since it dips below freezing or stays above freezing, it gets pretty cold. So unfortunately, you have to pack for like all seasons if you're gonna move here for the full calendar year. If you're a lady, I mean, you could wear jeans. Just because it gets so wet, it's kind of uncomfortable to wear wet jeans all the time. So I relied mostly on leggings. If you have those waterproof pants, people just wear them in transit and then take them off when they get to where they're going. In the summers, you could probably wear like shorts and a t-shirt from June until September. Maybe a light jacket. Definitely bring a swimsuit. There's enough like lakes and ocean to be swimming in or spending time on the beach. So yeah, it's definitely not going to be light packing when you come here, especially in the winter. But kind of have to pack for all seasons.
Right. Is there
Yeah.
anything that you can't find there that you're like, definitely bring from your home country, or can you find everything you need?
You can find everything you need. They have department stores that have, all types of clothes. They have outdoors clothes. They have like all the same foods as we would have, at least coming from the States. It took me a while to like find really good Mexican food. That was the one thing where I'm like, that's what I miss. Found it though.
Okay.
And there's been more places popping up. Again, comparing it to the States, in my mind, the candy variety is a little bit off.
Okay.
Yeah. But then again, there's better chip flavors here, so it's kind of just balances out that way. It's not like going to Europe where like you have to pack peanut butter if you're a big peanut butter person. You're gonna find everything that you need. And once the exchange rate is better, it's almost better just to like invest in renting a car and going to Costco or going to the outlet stores down in Seattle. But not with the exchange rate now. So things are gonna be a little bit pricier in the city, but I do miss having Target. They had a Target here a couple of years back, and it just wasn't the same, and it just flailed. But that's the one thing I miss.
Okay. How safe is Vancouver, and do you feel safe?
I do feel safe. As a city, I'd say it's a really safe city. There's a couple areas where, like, you just downtown, like, like one side of the block is completely safe, the other side is more sketchy. But then again, I mean, most of the violence in BC happens outside of the city when you hear about it. I mean, there's the odd acts that you see in the news, but for the most part, like even the sketchy areas, they just stay themselves. So, I've served a lot of tourists who are just like, like I just saw, gave a huge homeless population and there's the open or the clean needle clinic, like that's got to be really dangerous for the city. And the truth is they keep themselves. They're not violent people, especially towards other people walking down the street. You just gotta know just not to spend too much time over there. And there's nothing really over there to do. So as a woman, I've been living here for 5-6 years. I feel very safe. I don't mind walking home alone from work at night. Just be cautious. It's not safe to ever assume that nothing's gonna happen, but I don't look over my shoulder every 5 minutes or anything. And again, I don't feel like violent acts happen on the street very often at all. And most of the main streets are pretty well lit. There's public transit that's going on like all hours of the night, so even that's very safe. And I don't know. I just consider it a very safe place as long as you're smart about it. Don't go wandering off in the forest alone.
So then, how do you meet people, and what kinds of things do you do for fun?
Vancouver's a very friendly place. Coming from Minnesota, who has a nickname Minnesota Nice, and I noticed that right away. People are friendly, but in like certain ways. So like people are always gonna be smiley and everything with each other, especially in like the main little city hubs. So like in Kits or downtown, more friendly in Kits. I'd say it's more of like a community base, and downtown is more like I don't know professional like business people. And like you'll smile at people on the street, but I notice like my family comes and they're a big thing about saying hi to people when you walk by. They get like stares like, "What are you doing?" Like, what are you to me? So it's not necessarily unfriendly, but I've noticed that they'll smile, but that's about it. And then when you're like meeting people, you might like click with people when you're out or if you're on the beach, and then you like happen to mix friend groups. People are very friendly, and you don't ever feel like you're out of place. But then you reach this point where you're not technically in a friend group yet, but like you're friendly with them. And that's when it's up to the new person to kind of just like push your way in, because there's like a limbo stage where like you can't wait too long because people are very comfortable with their friend groups and they're not necessarily going to reach out to the new people. So you just have to make it past that stage, and then like everyone's really friendly. So
Okay.
you'll be greeted with a smile, you'll have a fun night or something, but then you just gotta like, hey, we should do that again, and like actually go next time before losing out on that like friend group or something. Summer it's so easy. There's the beach, there's the city, there's hiking. It's so easy to like go out and enjoy yourself, meet new people, and also go with your friends. And then in the winter, I'd give it some patience. You know, people are either at home or they're like inside somewhere, so you don't necessarily meet people outside as much, except for the odd people who just love walking out in the rain. Doesn't happen very often. As a student, it's a lot easier to meet people just because you're always around people doing the same thing, same lifestyle, just like in the same little clique as you. Meeting people who have come here just for work, who start in the winter, have struggled in the winter because there's little sun, there's always rain, you can't really spend much time outside unless you want to be wet. And then you don't meet very many people, and you're kind of like, what am I doing?
Hmm.
And then June comes, and it's gorgeous. Everyone's outside, everyone's like out of hibernation. So, yeah, it's kind of like suffering for 6 months and then coming back out to life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you suffer now that you know people, or it's just when you don't know people, it's a little hard?
Again, since I was in school, like I didn't really go through this period where I'm like, where's the sun? Like it does happen, the seasonal depression. I've been warned just to like, go to a sun lamp or something if you need to, like no shame. And I haven't ever felt the urge to at all. Maybe that's because like my first couple of years here, I was surrounded by other students. I was never really alone. But talking to my friends I've met in work who have come here alone, it just feels more lonely. Like people aren't as lively as they are in the summer. So again, you really only meet people if you go out to restaurants or out at night, and then you kind of just have to go up to someone and be like, hey.
So then, how about healthcare? Do you feel comfortable getting a procedure done there, and how's the healthcare?
Great. So as far as like, do I trust my surgeons? I do. Or I shouldn't say I do. I haven't had surgery here, but I've thought about it, and if I need to, like I have full faith having my procedures done here rather than in the States. My healthcare is substantially cheaper here. I have like my government or my province thing. It's like it was $75 a month, and they just reduced it to about $40 a month. And I have like basic coverage everywhere. If I needed an emergency procedure, that would be covered. Just my checkups and everything. As long as I prove that I need it, it's covered. But if I went to like a private clinic or something, I'd have to pay out of pocket. But even then, it's pretty cheap. And then with UBC, I have extended healthcare, so if I have to get any prescriptions or anything, they reimburse me like 80% of the way. My dental will be reimbursed like up to a couple $100 a month or a year. Yeah, and then I just compare that to I have like the bare minimum healthcare in the States. Like I basically just have it just in case catastrophic events happen, and I'm paying $200 a month, and I don't even know what it covers. I honestly don't even know if it would cover me for what I would need. So the healthcare is really great here. The line's a little bit longer, but I love it. I'm full advocate for it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think that Vancouver is a good travel hub? Why or why not?
Yes. I think it's a good travel hub. I know people struggle to live here just because the cost of living, and a lot of people don't know if they would like living in a 6 to 8 month rainy country. But as far as like traveling goes, there's just so much to do where even if you came for a year, you might think that like you could, there's still more to see just because there's so much nature out there. There's so many hikes like that are nearby, but also ferry rides away, just a couple hour drives away. Like there's so much to do on that case, and there's stuff to do in the city. Like everything is just so close here where you could be a city person, you could be an outdoorsy person, and you'd find anything that you want to do.
Lastly, what are some pros and cons about living in Vancouver?
Pros is that again you're close to the mountains, you're close to the ocean, and you still have a big but yet comfortable city to live in. I don't know where else I could compare it to, but there's just little neighborhoods. So like the city itself is small compared to big cities, but there's like 6 different neighborhoods that are quite have different vibes. So it's you have like choices when you decide like, oh, I want to leave my house today, but like what do I want to do? You know? So there's always something to do each day. People who live here are generally happy, so it's just contagious. Like even during the rainy season, like everyone just keeps each other in good spirits. I don't have much bad to say. The only things that I would say is expense. So if you're somebody who really wants to save up, that's a con. Because unless you get a really high paying job, it's just you're not going to be saving up as much. The rain, so if you're affected by weather, not seeing the sun, or even just pushing yourself to leave the house, our winters, it's just going to be a struggle. So it's just something to think about. But again, everyone says that until they have a Vancouver summer, and like everyone just forgets about their worries. So I don't know. I think you just get a big mix of people, and it's international, but you still feel home, and I don't know. I just love it.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for telling us about Vancouver today.
You're welcome.